We were allowed to start figuring out our groups well before the start of the work period of the jam. We weren't allowed to make any work that would go into the final product, as you might imagine, but we were allowed to discuss it. So we had at least 3 weeks of meeting every weekend to discuss different game design. We brainstormed as many different ideas as we could. You know, there's no bad ideas when it comes to brainstorming. We had different ideas about a potential rhythm game, some sort of puzzle platformer, but eventually we liked this idea of creating a card-based deck-building roguelike, but wanted to mix it with a grid-based, turn-based strategy game. So we had this idea where you could queue cards up to create multiple actions that would then be played out in a series, like Frozen Synapse if any of you have played that. Just before the start of the work period, we finally struck an idea which we thought would set us apart. The idea was combining cards. So instead of playing multiple cards and having them create a sequence of actions that would be played out on your turn, you would combine multiple cards, and then all of the actions on the cards would be combined together. And then we had a third aspect of combination, which was thanks to a great little brainstorming session with a good friend of mine, where you would have one card that would be an action, and another card that would be a number or value. And then when you combined them, that value would affect the action on the other card. So for example, you could play a movement card and then attach a +8 to it, and now you get to move 8 tiles. Or have a melee attack and attach a +7 to it, and now you do 7 melee damage. And then that combined with the other combining effect means you could have a move 8 combined with a ranged 6 combined with a AoE, so now you would dash forward, blow something up at range, and deal damage based on the numbers. It all seemed like it was really cool. And my group members told me, based on their experience in previous jams they'd been in, that this was something they thought they could achieve in our given 10-day time limit. Okay, we are 3 minutes and 14 seconds out from the start of the game jam. I am equally excited and terrified. I'm going to be meeting up with my team again once the jam officially starts, but just checking in before then. So, wish us luck. So it is the end of day 1. We have got the basic idea for our gameplay nailed down, and we also have the beginnings of an aesthetic as well, as you can see with this mood board. So tomorrow the real work starts. And so starts day 2. The first day of really working on this thing. Due to time differences, I had the fun of getting to wake up and see that my teammates had already made some decent progress on implementing the basic features of our card-based roguelike. Creating a basic card selecting system, allowing the data from the card to be stored when selected and allowed to be removed when it is unselected, the beginnings of our card-based system. Starting off today, my goal was to get a decent idea for the main character and at least one background done so that we could start making mock-ups to look at our ideas. I started out by sketching as many different designs as I could think of. I was looking at sort of a space western feel. Keeping with the space western feel, I tried to create an alien-feeling desert. This one's pretty simple, but that makes it a good base to test things out on. Moving on to day 3, I was working on refining. I already had some designs that were working pretty well, so I was trying to make them look better and potentially get started on a couple of animations for them. Sadly, due to a bit of miscommunication, it turns out the animations from yesterday were not necessary, so unfortunately this puts me a day behind schedule. As now I've got to redo all the work I did then. On the upside, however, the new system which we're going for will not require me to do animation, and instead allows me to do these more comic panel style inserts, which allows me to flex my illustration skills a lot better than the animation ever would have. And with this new direction, I move on to the next day, hoping to catch up by having a better direction to work from. To make up for that lost day of work, the next few days were a complete blur of productivity as I worked on making a tank enemy, a ranged enemy, and the healer, as well as adding some more UI elements before I got started working on the cards. The cards went through a few iterations before I found something that we were all happy with. I had a lot of fun writing little bits of flavor text for each one of these. You can pause and read them if you care. Also during this time, I got my brother to come in and help make some original music for the game, which is actually what you've been enjoying throughout this whole video. You can hear another couple samples of it here. At the beginning of the final day, I put on the finishing touches. I created this title screen, created some extra animations for things like explosions, and then added in some extra little details, like these rocks that could be placed randomly around the grid to create cover. With 7 hours to go, I had all my assets ready. I had all the music from my brother and sent it off to the group. Things were looking good. Now sadly, this is where the story deviates from what I'd hoped. Instead of this being the triumphant finale where I get to show you guys the playable demo and say that we won the jam or something, well, unfortunately, that's not the way this story goes. And also, even more unfortunately, there's no real closure to it, because in the last day, my other 2 group members just disappeared. No word from them, no responses, not to emails, not to Discord. So, unfortunately, that's just it. I have all this cool art and all this cool music, but game never materialized. Never knew what happened to them. I hope that it was just something like a family emergency or a power outage or something, and that there was no foul play or malicious intent here, because they sure seemed enthusiastic and were incredibly nice to me up until this point. But due to this, I also had some more clips of different group discussions with them, but I'm choosing to leave them out of this video now, as I don't want anybody to go send any hate or harassment their way, as I will choose to think the best and assume they had a good reason for this. Still wish I could have known why, and obviously I still wish we could have had a finished game, as I thought we really had something going here. But unfortunately, that's where our story ends. I will, however, show you a mock-up that I made through different animation and editing software to get you a visual look at what the game was supposed to be, so at least you can get a taste for the vision.